Welcome to Together Unlocked. It's Friday, it's 3 o'clock. I'm Ju Gosling, artist and artistic director of Together 2012, who is bringing you this show today. With me in my studio in East London is our chair, the artist Julie Newman. And before we do any descriptions, we're going to go over to the West Midlands.
Yeah, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Robin Surgener, artist known as Angry Fish. I am the business director of Together 2012 uh, and co host of Together Unlocked.
I am Josh
You want to give
Surgeoner.
audio description, Robin?
Oh, we're going straight for ours on that one. Okay, sorry. Yes, so today, as many of you will be aware, we have our dress up to stay in. And today I'm going to turn and show my full glory. This is me as a retired Premiership footballer. Yeah, I have grey ponytail. Uh, well, 5 o'clock yesterday shadow, and I'm wearing a long sleeved, believe it or not, in this weather, black and grey QPR goalkeeper's top.
Fantastic. Where did you get the top from? I have to ask.
Oh, I'm a QPR fan. The top's real.
But you just always fancied being a footballer rather than a swimmer.
Nah.
Lifestyle.
Oh yeah, the lifestyle, absolutely.
This is what you'd look like if you'd retired as a multi-gold medalist footballer and not a swimmer.
Yeah,
So,
something like that.
I am Josh Surgeoner. I'm a doctoral research student and a host of Together TV. And in keeping with the theme of professional sports people, I am wearing a Chicago Bulls shirt. And as all good professional sports people that have more money than sense and like to wear sunglasses indoors, I am wearing a pair of mirrored silver aviators.
lovely. And it looks really good with that ginger hair, or as you say,
Blonde.
blonde. So I've got a short red hennaed hair. It's not quite as short as it looks, but thank goodness for Brill Cream. I've got black framed glasses. As Robin and Josh said, on a Friday we dress up to go out to stay in. You can be going anywhere, real or imaginary, and we'd love to see your dressing up to go out to stay in photos. I'm dressing up to go out to the Tate Modern, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in our regular Friday afternoon feature, Something for the Weekend. But my t shirt, which is white, has some, I don't know, sort of pretty random patterns in purple, blue, black, and turquoise. And in bright orange, it says Vinyl Vibes, which has really got nothing to do with Tate Modern at all. But if I was going there in real life, I would probably wear a new t shirt. And this is my new t shirt. And I think you've got a new t shirt on, Julie.
I have indeed, is specially selected for the occasion. I'm going to Cape Kennedy and I'm going to take off in the space launch tomorrow. It'll be launching at about 20 past 8, but I'm going to be there with my tabby, my space tabby. It's going to be like
Cats in space.
it's a blue t-shirt. It's got sort of random spacey type design, and right in the middle, and I have to say, unfortunately placed, is a little tabby head in a space helmet, and it's like, well, I keep thinking, come in, Tabby Tom, you know. But it's going to be a lovely event. I'm going to enjoy it very much, and I'm sure the rest of the cats will as well.
Yeah, I have to say I'm a bit nervous about this space launch, particularly after the delays and the fact that I wouldn't buy a used electric car off Elon Musk, but for NASA's sake, let's hope it all goes really well. Are you feeling better, Josh? We had to lose you halfway through Wednesday's show.
Yes, I'm feeling mostly better. So hopefully I'll be able to make it through the whole show without having to scutter off uh, to be rather sick. Um, but yeah, no, I seem to be feeling a little bit more on my feet today. So which is good
So
news.
I guess if Robin's a
Miracle.
retired footballer, maybe you're one of those racing drivers the morning after the night before. So
Potentially.
so Together Unlocked is brought to you by Together 2012. We were founded in 2013 following the success of what was supposed to be a one-off volunteer-led project to celebrate the Paralympics in the main host borough of Newham. But people enjoyed it so much they asked us to carry on and not just run festival events but a year-round programme. So, what we now do is in normal times on Monday to Friday mornings, we have free creative workshops led by mid career disabled artists, which are open to any disabled people who can get to East London and anybody they want to bring with them to support them, either as a friend, a carer, or a paid worker. On the 10th of March, because hey, we can read, unlike perhaps some of the government, we realised that was going to have to come to an end for quite some time. So we launched our Join In From Home programme. And I think this show we launched as part of it on the 30th of March. The Join In From Home programme is based on our website. The address is at the bottom of your screen, but it's www.together2012.org.uk. If you go to the main Join In From Home link, you will see a link to all sorts of other things, including things to watch, things to listen to, things to make, and other things to do. On a Friday in real life, we would be running a drawing and painting session today, wouldn't we, Julie, from 10 to 12? So I thought we could start by talking a little bit about the sort of art and craft activities that we have in the Join In From Home programme. Yes, I'll keep talking then. So our normal drawing and painting sessions are very, very open. And what we say is they're about finding your own voice. We started belatedly having an option of doing a still life for people who didn't feel very inspired. But really, they're experimental sessions where we say, just have a go. We produce a big selection of different sorts of paper in different sizes, textures, and colours. We have pens, charcoal, crayons, pastels, felt tips, acrylics, oils, watercolors, and people just experiment and get on with it. And we always say that's actually quite a good thing to do. I know people quite often learn by copying, and I think that's really valuable. But there's nothing like just finding your own creative voice. It might even be with finger painting, it might be with blow pens because you can get somebody else to hold the pen to your mouth. There's always a way of making visual art, and it's always interesting just to experiment. But like I say, the still life option, because we had quite a lot of discussions about people not feeling so creative under coronavirus, can just get you started, can't it?
Definitely. I think what's been interesting to me is that to watch people try different medium and see what works for them. As you say, Jew, everybody's sort of having a go at different bits and pieces. I hate felt tip pens, but yet some people are producing wonderful work using felt tip pens. I've never been able to use them properly. Um, they're all right for signs or something like that, as far as I'm concerned. But some of our artists are doing the most intricate patterns and very, very detailed paintings. So I'm always surprised at that. There's another artist I can think off the top of my head who just uses pastels and does the most beautiful portraits. It's almost as if they're oil paints. They're just beautifully, beautifully executed. And I think it's useful to be able to have a chance to try out the different bits and pieces. And as Ju says, find out what works for you.
Yes, I mean, you might be somebody who thinks, well, actually, I love music or I love poetry, but I hate drawing and I'm useless at it and I've never done it. And to which I would say, maybe try a different kind of media that you've never tried, because like you say, felt pens might be wonderful for one person, useless for the next people. I'm always impressed at the variety of entries we get for our open exhibition. Every year, as part of the festival that we run in Disability History Month, which is November and December, we have an open exhibition. It's limited to people with a Newham connection, to which we say live, work, study, volunteer, used to live here. You know, if you think you have a connection and you identify as having some kind of impairment or long term health condition, it's a very unique exhibition in that we say one entry per artist, and so long as it's family friendly, we will guarantee acceptance. And you can never tell, can you? You know, we often have 60 or 70 artists. You can never tell who's the professional, who's the amateur, who's got learning difficulties. And part of that is because of the techniques that people use, and some of the arts group leaders as well, you know, just really, really imaginative, you know, different techniques, different things they'll be doing. This year's festival, of course, will be entirely online, so we'll be exhibiting photographs, and I think that's going to be challenging because a lot of the people who would usually submit don't really have the ability to take the photographs, but we will manage it somehow. So that's an early steer for anybody watching from East London for the open exhibition.
Can I just ask you, Ju, with our website, what um, what artwork have we got up there currently?
Well, the website with the Join In From Home program is really activity based, and we've divided it up so that the activities is linked to the program that we run in the week. So in the week, the program that we run year round, we call our clubs program, you know, the sort of clubs anybody can join. We thought that sounded more friendly and just easier to understand, because Newham historically has had the lowest level of engagement with culture in the UK. So, you know, people are not so familiar. We don't have lots of theatres and art centres and different facilities here, and really nothing outside of Stratford. So we divide it up into the clubs. For the art club activity, there's an opportunity to join in with a project that we've actually been running for 5 or 6 years now, and it's called the Hands Project. And it's probably never been more relevant because it's about showing that we're all individual and we're all part of the same human race. So you draw around your hands on a piece of card, could be an old cereal packet. You cut out those outlines and you just turn it over so that you've lost any kind of pen that's been used on the cardboard. And then you decorate it with whatever you want. You know, again, it could be felt tips, stickers, paints, feathers, collage. You know, people have just done some beautiful, beautiful things. And then we ask you to send us a photo by email or text. Usually, we would be asking you to post those hands because it creates a whole installation that travels around the world with more hands being added. But we've always had a photo installation on the website, so we'll be using that. Under family activities, we also have a lot of craft based activities because, in addition to the clubs, we usually run a family activity day every school holiday for families that contain disabled children. So those are activities like making lunch boxes out of old takeaway containers. We've got how to make sock puppets. We've got how to decorate jars and turn them into storage jars or light jars. And then there's another range of activities that sort of links in through the youth program as well.
But that's absolutely lovely, and I think it's a wonderful resource. Have we got pictures in the archive of previous exhibitions or shows that we've done?
Yes, we've got a very, very big website because we use it as our archive. That's exactly right. But we also want people. We want to be very clear and transparent about everything we do. So, for example, if you go onto the website www.together2012.org.uk, under About Us, you can see things about our history, but you can also see all of our different policies. There's a section on David Morris, who was the Mayor of London's Disability Advisor in the run up to London 2012 and led on external inclusion. He sadly died in 2010, but David inspired us. So there's lots of things about David. And within the archive section, there's the complete records of the previous festivals. So there's not just images of exhibitions, there's also films of performances. We have put kind of clearer links in. You don't just have to go through the archive to find those things. But yes, it's a very extensive archive, including links to the past film festivals and all the films we've screened that are available online.
It's lovely. And looking back over the years, it's wonderful to see how people's individual styles have developed as well. I think it's important just to put a postscript in here, and that is to say, this isn't occupational therapy. um,
Although these days it could be, I don't think it matters.
no, I don't think it does. But we are talking about artists and the development of artists, and the artists being supported to create work.
I think that's right, but I also think over the sort of 10 years that the Together 2012 project's been going, I'm an international artist and I've got 3 degrees, but what has really struck me is the talent and creativity that we have locally from people who've really had no arts education at all and no opportunity to engage with the arts. And it takes time. I would encourage anybody who is interested in writing a poem, creating a piece of music, making a picture. Yes, just do it because it makes you feel good these days. That's really important too. But never feel that, oh, we can't achieve what the people that we see on screen have achieved, because, I absolutely believe that you can, if that's the right path for you. Lots of women and indeed men don't go into the arts till sort of middle age because they would have loved to, but they've had a proper job, and then they get a health condition, they have an accident, they just get older, and then it becomes time to do something else, which again I think is why there's so many disabled artists out there. Did you have anything to add to that, Robin and Josh?
Yeah, it's to do with kind of creating art. There's an app that I've had on my computer for years and kind of forgot about until I was needing to delete some things to get some space. Called Autodesk Sketchbook, which is available on Mac, PC, iPhone, iPad. I don't know about Android store because I don't have one to check. But it's available pretty broadly. That's a free drawing app, basically. That if you are talented, you can create some incredible pictures on. Or if you're like me, you can create some fairly naff ones. But I know, Julie was kind of mentioning about felt tips or watercolors or paints and all these different things. If you are looking at kind of getting into it, or if you are an artist already, you can really kind of experiment with anything. You don't need to go and get supplies and decide what grade of paper you want to use, or worry about setting up an easel or whatever. You can, every color imaginable and every brush type and size and paint and spray paint and everything, because it's all digital and free within it. Obviously, it's a little bit more challenging because actually you're drawing on a computer, or throwing it on your phone with a finger, unless you're kind of lucky enough to have a digital kind of iPad Pro and a pencil and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a really nice kind of free tool that lets you experiment with things that you maybe kind of wouldn't otherwise. And then, yeah, if you do kind of come up with something you like and you have the ability to make it in real life, I guess, then you can do that. But if you're someone like me that isn't going to go out to an art store and buy all the supplies, it's fun to just experiment with different kind of methods and things.
Oh,
I
Ross,
think that's really helpful.
Emily's just bought a teddy ready for next week. Actually, she thought we needed one, so thank you so much, Emily. We have.
That to viewers in a minute. So yeah, let me try and wind all these things up and bring them together again, because I wanted to add, we have a highlights page that we post the different videos, but also links from each show. So what we'll be doing after the show on the highlights page is Josh will give me the link for that program, so we will be able to recommend that program. We're really keen to get viewers' pictures in, and I'm pleased to say that Pritesh Patel, who sent us a couple of pictures before, has sent us something. So I'm going to ignore the cat lurking around the studio, because we have 5 random cats in our studio, and I think 2 in the West Midlands. So Julie, if you just take my microphone for a second, I'll find Pritesh's picture. So this is Pritesh's picture of birds, and I'm going to pick on Julie to audio describe it.
It's sorry, I'm distracted by one of the random cats. It's an A4 sized or type sheet of paper turned sideways, so it's landscape. Um, on the left hand side, coming into the picture, uh, are a range of green stems, which I believe are branches.
No, I think they're the birds. This is an interesting thing, which is one of the reasons I picked on Julie. It's that I think it's actually a very kind of stylized picture, but there's a blue across the middle. There's a kind of blue wavy line which gets thicker as you come down. I think that is the River Thames.
I think
Yeah,
that-
because you've got the
Yeah.
Millennium Point thingy, where Isle of Dogs thing.
Yeah, so effective, and then you've got a sun on the right hand side. So what you have is these very stylized birds, which are almost like aeroplanes. So they've got orange round bodies, blue round heads,
and green wings.
and green wings. And then right at the bottom, I think the perspective is really interesting. There's the leading one, if you like, it's kind of banking round, so you can only see part of one wing. I think Pritesh has either done that with felt tip or crayon. I know he doesn't have many materials at home. I think that's a stunning picture, and like I say, just so interesting because it is literally a bird's eye view. The only way you would be able to see the birds like that and the Thames like that is if you were flying yourself.
I think it's full of action. That's what I really like about it. It's absolutely full of action. There's a lot of movement in it. The little beaks are open, so they're singing as they're flying along. So everybody seems to be quite happy with the sun shining as well.
It is, and I think, for those of you who are old enough, it's very rhubarb and custard, actually. That kind of very two-dimensional picture, but just shouts 3D at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for that, Pritesh. You'll see on the Join In From Home page that we have lots of encouragement to send us your photos and videos of the things that you've made for those activities. But we would love to see any poems and films, photographs, paintings, whatever you're making at home. We would love to see it. So I'm just going to take that back off the screen. And as we were interrupted, as it were, on Wednesday by Josh being unwell, I'm wondering, Josh, whether we could just come back to our regular Wednesday slot where we have a look at virtual sport and gaming. We touched on this just slightly, didn't we, on Wednesday? But I wondered if you'd got anything else you wanted to add, Josh.
Well, being the wonderfully professional and on it segment producer that I am, I haven't watched Wednesday's show to find out what you talked about. But I mean, there's kind of less and less virtual sport and more real sport, in-person sport happening as kind of lockdowns are being kind of eased. But there was an article this morning from Colin Murray, who's a DJ and sport and music fan and does lots of kind of writing and podcasts around his idea that when the Premier League restarts or potentially restarts on the 17th of June, there should be raffles for deserving fans that are being kind of nominated, and that one person from the home team is allowed to go to each match that's kind of earned it from their work during the pandemic, which I just thought was a kind of really cool, really nice idea, that just be kind of one person that's really earned it would be allowed to go and watch the match.
What we talked about was just some of the return to training for some of the elite athletes, and that was all really.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's lots of kind of guidelines and things going out at the moment, but
I mean, I hesitate. I hesitate to kind of predict, but I think they reckoned that last week alone there were 54,000 new infections outside of hospitals and care homes. You know, I think over 300 people died yesterday, over 400 people died the day before. And we're kind of having the same conversations as countries who've lost less than 400 people in total over the last 3 months. And it just seems, you know, we know that we're in the shielding group. It's going to be a very long time before it's really safe for us to go out again. But it does seem a little bit premature to be having the same policies, like I say, as countries who've just not had these problems at all. You know, we clearly haven't been able to control infection in the way that they have, and you know, we clearly still aren't. So you do wonder whether it's going to be a bit sort of hiccupy, because was it 5 players and staff tested positive last week? Well, when they first went back to training in the Premier League, I think there was
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 4 players in their first round of testing had come back with symptoms, but what I or come back was positive tests. Sorry, but yeah, kind of what I haven't seen, and it may be out there, but I kind of haven't really seen a huge amount this week because I've been unwell. Is what the protocols around? Okay, well, if one player on a team tests positive, then what happens? Do all of does the whole team and staff and everybody then have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and their matches get pushed, and anyone they've been in contact with for the past 2 weeks then has to go into a quarantine as well? And it's a similar,
I can't see how they could avoid that, because if we do start getting it down in the way that other countries do, you know, that compliance with quarantine is going to be absolutely critical. But to move on, what is there to do? I mean, I was really interested last week when you talked about the sort of growing audiences for virtual sport.
Yeah, the kind of virtual Formula One and things have continued to be quite popular. I know that there was some talk about Formula One trying to race at Silverstone in July. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But yeah, I think there's kind of been a really big uptake on that virtual side of kind of watching digital races online. I think it's really interesting. I think it'd be really interesting to see where kind of it's called esports, kind of where esport goes from here. Kind of, we talked about it about months ago. It doesn't feel like it was that long. Around kind of what's going to happen with events and live events and things kind of going forward after this period of online kind of delivery. And I think it'll be really interesting to kind of see what happens with that kind of digital sport aspect. There's always been kind of online football tournaments and online racing and things, but it's always been out of the mainstream. I think it'll be really interesting to kind of see how that develops, whether it can kind of retain a percentage of the audience it's had during this period, or if once in-person sport continues, everyone's gonna be like, well, I don't want to watch it on a computer. That's stupid. I'm going to go back to watching it in real life and just kind of revert to their opinions before it. It'll be really interesting to kind of see how that dynamic changes.
I mean, I think that it's a bit of a negative indicator, but an indicator of the rise of esports is that one of the drivers, I think it was an Audi driver, but for legal purposes, it could have been any other car company, got sacked for cheating in an e-race.
I will double check, because there is something called Formula E, which is racing electric formula cars as opposed to racing computer cars.
Oh, okay.
Right. I saw the same headline, but I'm not sure if that was a Formula E driver that cheated in a virtual race or
possible though,
someone cheating in a. Yeah, I will double check that just before we.
Yeah, just throw a nice spanner in there.
Either way, he got sacked for cheating. So whether it was for cheating in a real life race or a digital race, he still cheated and still deserved to be sacked. Allegedly, before I get sued. But yeah.
Absolutely. Josh, I wanted to ask your opinion on something. Well, 2 things actually. Talking about Formula One, Williams are talking about having to sell their car company. Frank Williams can't sustain the loss this year. And I think that should be linked in, I would have thought, to the to the conversation you've just been having about, sort of how on earth do you sustain a sport that's as expensive as that? So that's the first question. And the second question is that I noticed that the FA in this country have withdrawn support for the women's team, the national women's team, whereas the Germans haven't. And I wondered what impact you thought that would have in terms of their future, because we've only just started to have an escalation of interest in women's football nationally.
Yeah, I mean, firstly on the Formula One, yeah, it kind of came out today. They've lost 13 million, I think, so far this year. In kind of within Williams, and it was in the news a few weeks ago that Formula One as a whole has lost huge amounts of money, I suppose, as all sport, because they don't have the revenue with tickets and merchandise and things like that. It's difficult. I mean, there's always kind of been discussions around the sustainability of Formula One, kind of economically and in terms of kind of global warming and things. Obviously it's the logistical side of it, of 10 teams shipping things all over the world, and the fuel and things like that. I think if Williams did have to sell, it would be a real shame. For people that aren't F1 fans, probably going to find this really boring, but they haven't had particularly great form in the last few years, but are kind of have been a real institution, especially in British racing. If you kind of look in the past, they were world championships and really dominant. So it would be a shame if that happened in terms of what they can do in terms of bailouts. I don't really know.
There's a real link, I think, back here with the arts as well, because of what's happening to the theatres. And I think it's anything that's about live events that depend on large numbers of audience members, not just paying ticket money, but also bar staff. Because I know when people have looked at the theatres and gone, well, if you just lost 20% of your income, and you go, well, it wouldn't actually be like that, because you've still got to have at least as many staff to keep social distancing with a fraction of the seats. I don't know. I mean, I think it's very, very difficult. You look at the theatres that are going into administration, you look at the theatres like the Old Vic that are posting warnings. In a way, we would be better off kind of knowing that actually for the next year plus, live events just can't work in the way that they used to, and it could be longer, and that possibly mothballing things is, however much you lose in that is better than kind of trying to work when something isn't economic and then going under completely. But we have so much sympathy for all of that. Was there anything you wanted to add on the sport, Josh, or game indeed?
No, I mean, kind of what you were saying about theatres. I know the Hippodrome in Birmingham yesterday said they weren't going to open until at least November, just because they couldn't find an economically viable way with social distancing. And it's like you said, it's all of the other things that come with it, the bar and things. I know kind of Julie mentioned about the losing of funding for the women's football team. I haven't had a chance to read the story again. It was a headline that I've kind of jotted down to have a look at, but haven't had a chance to read yet. It's a real shame.
Does that mean Philip Neville's out of a job?
I think he was leaving anyway, but
what I find so bizarre is you would expect that the things that need building up the most are the things you need to protect, because they're really vulnerable. And you could actually say, well, men's football surely is so robust that whatever happened in the next couple of years, it would still be fine in 3 years' time, whereas the women's is just at such a vulnerable stage. Anyway, at this point, I think before we move on to something for the weekend, it would be a great time to play a little bit of a guided meditation by Arwa from ACT UP Newham. We're showing lots of ACT UP Newham's work every week because they're making lots and lots of work. Lockdown has not stopped them, it has just opened them up. They managed to rush around and to put Zoom onto everybody's phone or tablet before lockdown officially started, and they have been zooming away ever since. We're going to put the full version, which is over 5 minutes, up onto the highlights page, but relax and enjoy this short extract.
Hello, I wanted to relax with our. This meditation is to help you in case you are just in this time. That's the first thing we are going to do. We don't just take deep step in. Okay, ready? In and out. Now, I want you to think of your favorite place and imagine that there is a sea and you're standing in front of the sea. This is a sea of happiness. And all your worries in one hand, and you are going to throw them in the sea. When you throw them in the sea, you watch them fall into the sea. You decide to go for a swim. So you see a boat. You get into that boat. And you see an island on the other side of the ocean. So you go to the island, then nobody on this island. Now this island is your island, but there's nobody there. On this island, you see a field full of flowers, yellow flowers, red flowers, all kind of flowers. But there is one special flower that's looking at you. So you walk over to that flower. You look at it, and guess what? The flower can talk.
Hi, that was wonderful. Actually, it's really, really calming.
Really, really lovely. Well done, Arwa. And for anybody who couldn't see that, what Arwa was doing was guiding the meditation from her room. There were illustrations which were mostly crayon drawings, but also photos of things like the flowers. So we had drawings of the sea and drawings of the boat. We had drawings of flowers. We had photographs of flowers. And that was really fantastic. Arwa, I believe, is currently developing her own one-woman show, so we will really look forward to seeing that
Yeah.
in due course. So now I believe it is time for something for the weekend. When we look at all of the virtual offerings that are available, I'm not quite sure why, guys, but we appear to be slightly squashed in our cameras compared to earlier. It might be a question of shuffle back because there's nothing we can do about the strange ways that the internet behave. Julie, do you want to start with something for the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to the Radio Times site, you'll have a breakdown of the space launch for tomorrow. And you'll be putting up some links onto the website of the NASA YouTube channel and also the SpaceX. I don't know if it's supposed to be Space 10, but I read it as SpaceX launch of the shuttle tomorrow. And that'll be taking 2 astronauts up to the space station. Now, Tim Peake, who is our very own British astronaut, has tweeted that if you look to the west at a particular time, and I'm trying to remember the time off the top of my head, I think it's about 9 o'clock, 9:20, after the rocket takes off, you'll be able to see it, and it'll be to the west of the moon. So so look out of your window to the west. You'll see the moon, and apparently the International Space Station is visible as well. So you'll be able to see the rocket going up towards the International Space Station, which I think is just like some sort of magic. I think the other thing that I'm looking forward to is the continuation of Springwatch. Again, Jill will be putting up a link, and there's there's a set of live cameras so that you can continue to watch the Springwatch of the various nesting birds, etc., online through the iPlayer. The British Museum, I was checking out this week. The British Museum have got some wonderful virtual tours of their exhibitions, and they've got some. It's a wonderful opportunity to see things which certainly someone in my position wouldn't ordinarily see anyway, because I just don't get into the British Museum. And for people who like Fates, the Greenwich Peninsula Fete is happening. It's called the Urban Virtual Fete from Greenwich Peninsula on Sunday, and there's a link to that. And finally,
What's a virtual fate? Do you know?
well, I've got no idea. I think there's performances and stalls and people doing things, and but it's virtual. I've got absolutely no idea. I'm quite interested to see it myself, so we can report back on that next week.
It could just be a play on words, and it's FATE.
Possibly. I mean, I do like buying jam and indeed knitted goods at Fate. So
yeah, I know there's a couple of other fairs on virtually over the weekend in London where you can actually do that. You can see the wares, WARES, online, and you get a link through to the stall holders or the sellers, and you can buy directly. And just finally, for those who are in their 50s, I imagine, I'm not, but I'm younger than that, of course. But the Kaiser Chiefs are.
She's not, if you can't see.
The Kaiser Chiefs are playing a free concert tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and I believe Oasis have got a free concert as well. I'm not sure about that one so much. That at 7:45, but presumably if you do a search for these things online. But I think the Kaiser Chiefs one, I don't like the Kaiser Chiefs myself. It's not the music that I can associate with. But when I start to listen to them, I think, oh yeah, I know that tune. So
there's been a complete relationship.
I can't imagine the Oasis one's a live concert somehow.
No, absolutely. That's what's confused me. I really don't understand that at all. So I'm going to have to check that one out, and we can talk about it next week.
The advantage of social distancing is that they don't have to be within 50 miles of each other by guidelines of the government. They can be very separate from each other.
Well, when you think of how big the stages are, I mean, it's a long, long time ago, but in my distant youth, I've sat on the side of the stage at the Pyramid Stage at Glastonbury, and it's a big stage. I don't think there's any problem with the social distancing. It's the toilets that I think would be the issue. So, what are you looking forward to virtually this weekend in the West Midlands?
Yeah, so uh, like Julie, I'm a bit of a nerd. So the SpaceX website also has a really nice breakdown, and some kind of lovely diagrams and pictures explaining kind of each stage and things like that. Um, and then there is an event on Sunday evening, I believe at 9 o'clock UK time, called Zen and the Art of Photojournalism, um, with which is a 1 hour kind of online seminar, um, around kind of connecting with a subject through photography and photojournalism, which looks really interesting, that I might kind of look into. Um, and then the final thing that I've kind of earmarked, is that there is a online Harry Potter themed escape room that you can do. That's a company in America, that have a in-person Harry Potter escape room. But kind of because no one can actually go at the moment, they've taken that, and made it's a kind of Google form that you click through with different links to kind of access your clues and find out what your clues are, which looks quite interesting. So Emily and I are both quite big Harry Potter fans. We might try that this weekend as well.
Sorry, sounds like fun for the family as well, that one, because
Yes, yeah.
solving clues, it kind of needs all of you, doesn't it?
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know what an escape room is, they're kind of puzzle rooms where you have to solve different kind of riddles and puzzles, to kind of unlock doors and keys and things to um, escape or be let out. But there's normally kind of, you get timed. So yeah.
I didn't know what that was, but I do know what Harry Potter is, and I can see the link because it's always fun to solve clues. What are you going to be doing virtually, Robin?
I'm not doing anything virtually this weekend. My plan is to do nothing.
What would you recommend for other people?
Well, I know, but actually, I think, strangely enough, I think that the kind of the odd disconnected chaos that lockdown has brought to people is that actually, kind of going back to last week and the whole focus on mental health, actually is taking some time for yourself and actually, not worrying about what's on telly, not necessarily what you can find on the computer, but actually sit down and lie down and look at the ceiling and contemplate for a bit. Or honestly, that's I
absolutely agree with you. And I spent at least 2 days of the bank holiday doing that, although the first day I couldn't really move anyway. But yes, I mean, we were talking with Mental Health Awareness Week last week about being kind to ourselves before we looked at the theme of being kind to anybody else. And I think that's really important. Well, in that case, I will just add before I come on to my something for the weekend that last Friday I was dressed up to go out to stay in to go to Survivors Poetry, and mentioned that I wouldn't have been able to go in real life because although they run a very accessible event at the Poetry Cafe, Westminster is not an accessible borough and it doesn't recognise the blue badge, so I can't go. And lo and behold, what did I do last night? I was invited to the second ever Survivors Poetry by Zoom, which was rather fabulous. There were 25 people there. Many of them were poets. They'd got a programmed thing compared by Debbie McNamara very, very well, beautifully. They had floor spots available. If anybody would like to join or indeed rejoin, because as we were saying last week, Survivors Poetry has been going for decades. It's a very, very well known international movement of poets who've survived or are living with mental health difficulties. So yeah, I was really chuffed. They're going to have one once a month, so that was great. I really enjoyed it. They asked me to do a floor spot, but in fact I was on a computer where the microphone wouldn't work, so I had to decline for that time. Tonight, on a bit of a roll here, because certainly in real life I wouldn't be going out twice, 2 days running, I'm going to do Tate Late's Night In. And Tate Late's Night In starts at 7 o'clock and runs till 9 o'clock, which is pretty much the timing of their evening events and their private views. There's a whole range of different artists, including Francis Morris, who is the director of Tate Modern and also a friend of my assistant's dog, is discussing work with the artist Cara Walker and also the photographer Wolfgang Timms. There's Raymond Antrobus and Anthony Anaxaguru, apologies for how I pronounced that, discuss and perform poetry that's inspired them. There's music with visuals from Wolfgang Tillmans. And in fact, an artist who is associated with Together, whose name is Anna Farley, and we hope Anna is going to be doing something for our festival later in the year. Anna Farley is contributing at 8:20. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then the whole of this weekend and all of next week, there is the world's first free online film festival. And what's happening is a huge number of film festivals, more than 20, which is unheard of for film festivals to be cooperating like that, have come together and they're doing an entirely free live streamed festival on YouTube, of course. And it's called We Are One. So it's got content from Berlin, Cannes, Sundance, Toronto, Venice, scrolling down, Mumbai, Jerusalem, Sarajevo, London, Tokyo, and Sydney. They do ask for certain films, they're asking if people can afford it to make a donation to the World Health Organization, but of course that is only optional if you can afford it. The last thing anybody should be doing is giving into fundraising appeals in this time if you haven't got enough money to put food on the table and heat and have a little bit of extra. So it's absolutely wonderful. It's an opportunity to access content from festivals in places that probably we would never get a chance to go to. So between Tate tonight and the film festival for the next 10 days, I feel that I'm absolutely sorted. I might look at the space stuff, but I'm a little bit worried about accidents, so I'd rather watch it after they've safely taken it off and there is no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similarly. I mean, I am absolutely fascinated by the space stuff because I am old enough to remember sitting at our breakfast table in Reading in 1969, and watching that very first step on the moon. And then from then watching, the launches, and obviously there's been some very sad moments in space history. But there probably are. I mean, they should find out if there are any virtual tours of Cape Canaveral, because it's a fascinating place. If nothing, I mean, if you ever do get to go there, if you're ever allowed to travel again, the sheer enormity of it, you cannot get to grips with quite how big these rockets are when the bit at the top has only got space for 2 or 3 people, or a dog, or a cat, as it was or a monkey in the original days.
Yeah, they've got some of the original capsules at the Science Museum, haven't they? And I remember seeing those. I did get terribly into space again last year because out of the blue, and largely thanks to Tom Shakespeare, I have to say, I was invited to perform at the Blue Dot Festival, and that was celebrating the 50th landing actually at the what's our telescope? Hubble, I thought it was. So we were offered glamping on site, and lo and behold, and it was absolutely wonderful. I mean, it was all wonderful, but they had a visual installation of the TV footage projected onto the Hubble that started at midnight and went on till about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It was a bit difficult to sleep because we were so close to the actual telescope, but it was just amazing. And I haven't been able to leave the house independently for 20 years. So, in one sense, lockdown is not so much of a shock as it might be, but it had got me really enthused with Julie and my friends about saying we should send Ju out to do poetry all over the festivals because then we can all keep going for free. We'll help you, Ju. And I was getting really geared up to that. And now actually, I'm staying at home all the time and doing a live stream, maybe in 2 years' time, perhaps. So yeah, I got very into space at that point, but it just reminded me again that it is quite a dangerous occupation. So I'm going to watch the recording.
Can I just point something out, which I think it might be of interest to filmmakers and artists, and that is that NASA have had from ages, a long time, a policy of copyright-free images. So it's absolutely perfectly okay to use images, to screen grab images, etc., or little video clips from the NASA website and to use them as part of your installation or performance art.
Thank you so much, Judy, because I'd completely forgotten that. And in fact, on the way home from the festival, I wrote a poem about the moon, and I was going to record it with that footage. I found a lovely clip on the NASA site, and that was my project in February, was making more film poems. And of course, things got interrupted, but I think I shall challenge myself to celebrate this and actually finish that film. So we're coming to the end of our content from today. We always, because Friday is music day as well as art day, we finish with a song, and Robin, also known as Angry Fish, is going to play a song for us in a moment. So I think it just remains for us to flag up next week's content, to say stay home, stay creative, stay well. And it's a big goodbye from me, Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90 in East London, on behalf of Together 2012.
And from me and the various assorted cats.
So we'll switch over now to West Midlands, let you two say goodbye, and then finish with a song.
Yeah, so it's goodbye from me, and hope you enjoy your weekend. And I'll pass over to Robin to play you all out.
Okay, so I will just gather my instrument. It's been a great week, actually, and now so I can move from the Premiership football to the slightly aging hippie now. Retired Premiership football. Thank you, Josh. I'm just gotta get some words where I can see them. Okay, now, so I decided. Oh, I just lost the words. How did that happen? Oh, stupid. There we go. Right, sorry. So, hoping you can hear me well. I decided this week I would take the very well-known song "I Will Survive," but rewrite the lyrics to represent current times, and it's called "We Will Survive," and actually really very much focuses on not going out, making the most of what you've got at home. I promise this won't be perfect. First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live with COVID locked inside. But then I spent so many nights thinking how I could be strong, kicking back with a jack, believing life can carry on. Then we found digital space, so we learned that there are many ways to help communicate. We didn't need to change our outlook, didn't need to find a key. All we need is some hope, 'cause hope can set us free. So now go, secure your doors, just accept the fact that just for now, no visitors anymore. We're not trying to be mean, not trying to hurt you with goodbyes. We'll fight coronavirus, we won't just lay down and die. Oh, now go, we will survive, as long as we stay safe and stay locked down home inside. We've got all our lives to live, we've got all our love to give. We will survive, we will survive. Hey, hey. Let's use all the strength we have not to fall apart. Keep trying hard to keep fit for a healthy heart. You could spend some locked in nights feeling sorry for yourselves. We could brave the isolation and break free from our shells. We will emerge like butterflies do, all beautiful and flighty, with all your lives ahead of you. So if you feel like dropping in, I'll politely say please leave. We are saving all our anti-bac to ensure our food's germ-free. So now go, secure your doors. Just accept the fact that just for now, no visitors anymore. We are trying to be mean, we're not trying to hurt goodbyes. We will fight coronavirus, won't just lay down and die. Oh, now go, we will survive. As long as we stay safe and stay locked down home inside. We've got all our lives to live, we've got all our love to give. We will survive, we will survive. Hey, hey. Not perfect, but there you go. Have a great weekend. Bye.